Meanwhile, the Democrats just keep saying awful things about Republicans because this is the way that it works, guys. Don't you understand? It's time for unity, by which they mean surrender. It's time for, and they don't just mean surrender in the election in 2020, right? The Electoral College has already voted. They mean surrender forever, right? Surrender your priorities. Just let the Democrats have their way with the country. That is what they mean. And so Barack Obama, Captain Unity, right? He's doing his book tour. He's such a unifying figure. Remember, according to the media, this guy was the most unifying figure in modern American politics. He really just brought people together. That's all Barack Obama did. He was unbelievably divisive. And the rise of the intersectional coalition, the rise of intersectionality as a philosophy, it really occurred under his watch. And it was a political move by Obama that he really started to treat separate segments of the American population as voting blocks that he could appeal to and then cobble together a coalition against the quote-unquote system that really did break apart. I think that if the country is irrevocably broken, a lot of people on the left are going to attribute that to election 2016. No way. No way. The country got broken in 2012. That's when the country got broken. In 2008, Barack Obama ran as a traditional unifying political figure, right? No red states, no blue states, the United States. By 2012, he had basically decided that he was going to abandon pushing a message that was acceptable and palatable and interesting for a majority of Americans. He was instead going to go to each intersectional group, tell them he was going to prioritize their needs, cobble them together, and then direct them at the overarching system. And suggest that if you disagreed with him, it was because you're bigoted against those specific groups. If somebody broke American politics, it was this schmuck. Anyway, here's the schmuck saying that the GOP is the minority party and then saying that the Senate basically shouldn't exist anymore. So that's exciting. He attacks the Senate and the Electoral College. But don't worry, unity is on its way, guys. The era of good feelings is here.
The Republican Party is the minority party in this country. The only reason that it doesn't look like they're the minority party is because of structures like the U.S. Senate and the Electoral College that don't render them the majority party. So they have certain built-in advantages around power, given their population distribution and how our government works. But the truth of the matter is that 60% of the people are occupying what I would consider a more reality-based universe.
Okay, by the way, isn't this hilarious stuff? He's saying that to Trevor Noah on Comedy Central. I mean, that's comedying right there. And Trevor Noah just sitting there. So here is your very serious Democratic Party. Joe Biden being interviewed by Stephen Colbert and Barack Obama being interviewed by Trevor Noah. Slow clap for the anti-entertainment crew, the very serious political crew. How did they get Trump? I can't imagine. By the way, he happens to be wrong about this. When he says that the Democrats are the majority party, he is right on a federal level right now in terms of the House and in terms of the presidential vote. He is certainly wrong on the state level. On the state level, right now, the state level chambers, Republicans control about 3,900 seats in state legislative houses, and the Democrats control about 3,400 seats in state legislative houses. Okay, when it comes to state senates, Republicans control 32 state senates. Democrats control 18. Okay, so no, that is not correct. Okay, it turns out we do have a series. The reason he hates the Senate, of course, is because he dislikes the fact that there are institutional obstacles to cramming down his pure mob rule majoritarian ideas on everybody else. That's really what he wants to do. And then people wonder why Republicans and conservatives feel threatened. We understand that you guys want to get rid of all the militating institutions that preserve individual rights. We get it. We understand that you just want a bare majority to force itself on the bare minority, that you don't want any of those rights protected so long as the communal interests cut the other way. And it's not just Obama, obviously. It's people like this Biden inaugural official. So there's a Biden inaugural official named Stephanie Cutter, right? She was also a member of the Team Hillary and a member of the Obama team as well. Right, so Stephanie Cutter tweeted out in the wake of the statement by Jen O'Malley Dillon, who is one of Biden's deputy chiefs of staff. She suggested that Republicans were effers, right? So now Stephanie Cutter, who was a longtime senior advisor to Barack Obama, said, quote, "This story is based on one anonymous donor. Really? And does anyone really disagree with the sentiment? This is because Axios ran a piece saying that some Biden aides were worried that O'Malley Dillon had called the GOP effers." So Stephanie Cutter said, "The story is based on one anonymous donor. Really? Does anyone really disagree with the sentiment?" Jen just had the guts to say it. Will Republicans prove her wrong? Doubt it. Okay, well, so in other words, she's right. Right, so you have a top Obama official and a top Biden official both saying that Republicans are effers. But don't worry, guys, it's time for unity. It's time to get together. Why won't Republicans just give it up? Why won't Republicans just, sit down and shut up? Meanwhile, you have MSNBC host Mehdi Hasan suggesting that Donald Trump should be overtly prosecuted for COVID deaths. Yes, the era of good feelings is here, guys. There will be no recriminations. It's not going to be about punishing the other side. It's not about viciousness or cruelty. It is simply about, bringing back a time of unity and togetherness. That's why we're now calling for the prosecution of the sitting president of the United States for the effects of a global pandemic that have killed millions of people all over the planet.
Donald Trump killed hundreds of thousands of people or presided over the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, preventable deaths, here at home in the United States of America. And that, for me, you talk about morally abominable. It's sociopathic. Yeah. And I think people should be held to account. I think they should be prosecuted. The people behind these preventable deaths should be prosecuted when they leave office on January 20th.
So this is where things stand in our culture right now, is that people must be punished. People must be punished. Charles Blow has another terrible column in the New York Times. I mean, it's another week, so of course he has another terrible column saying just the same thing. Right? He says, Joe Biden, as he has always said, is seeking to be a unifying president, to be the president of the people who didn't vote for him, as well as the ones who did. I want to have that same optimistic spirit, but I admit my attempts at it may falter. I don't want to be the person who holds a grudge, but I also don't want to be the person who ignores a lesson. The act of remembering that so many Americans were willing to continue the harm to me and others and to the country itself isn't spiteful, but wise. So in other words, remember that so many people voted for Trump. They are the enemy. They are the enemy. Anybody who voted for Trump is the enemy. Meanwhile, you got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar openly suggesting that we have to go after Hollywood stars who do not go along with the prevailing political norms. Right? Here's how it feels to be, for those who are not conservative who listen to the show, understand how it feels to be a conservative in America. Okay? And facts don't care about your feelings, but the facts happen to back up these particular feelings. Okay? There is a tsunami of institutional hatred against people who think differently than the left. The left is in control of the scientific establishment. The left is in control of the university establishment. They're in control of the media establishment. They're in control of the entertainment establishment. They're in control of the sports establishment. They're in control of the government establishment as well, particularly in the administrative state. It feels as though everywhere you turn, there are people who are sneering at you. Now, there are people on the hardcore left who say, good, that's the way it should be. But if you are a good-hearted liberal and you wish to have open conversations with people, what you're going to have to decide is whether you wish to make common cause with the sneerers or whether you wish to make common cause with people who still believe in individual rights. Because here's the thing. There's a high correlation between the people who sneer at people who think differently and the people who wish to shut those people down and violate individual rights in the process. Now, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has a piece in The Hollywood Reporter, I mean, it's a perfect confluence of celebrity, saying that celebrities deserve a legacy-killing backlash when they spread ignorance. He says, the only thing people enjoy more than watching a celebrity's rocketing ascent to international fame is watching an aging celebrity's flaming plummet to the hard, cold ground of disgrace and obscurity. It is both a warning against hubris, believing you're too famous to fall, and a reminder that the same people who made you popular can turn on you. Some, like Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, committed heinous acts to obliterate their achievements. But social media has provided a weapon for others to commit instantaneous career suicide and destroy any good faith legacy they spent a lifetime building, like Howard Hughes, whose contributions to aviation and filmmaking were overshadowed by such eccentricities as collecting his own nail clippings in jars. These figures are obscuring their own careers. So he talks about Rudy Giuliani, and then he talks about J.K. Rowling, right? J.K. Rowling is super bad. Terrible, 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 because J.K. Rowling says that boys and girls exist. Says Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, she deserves the hatred. He says her anti-trans tweets may not only damage the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts franchises, they could up tainting her entire literary legacy. Even the stars of the movies, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Eddie Redmayne, have spoken out against her position. Well, if Eddie Redmayne says a thing, woohoo! Well then, hold the fort. John Cleese's tone-deaf defense of Rowling left many fans bitterly disappointed, tarnishing his reputation. And then he goes after John Voight, and then he goes after Roseanne Barr. He goes after basically anybody who disagrees with him. He says, many Americans imbue stars with political and social intelligence they just don't have. Great success in one field can lead to the delusion that all your thoughts are great, says the former basketball center who is now writing in The Hollywood Reporter about politics. Yes, it can, can't it? It does, it's true. There are a lot of people who think that because they're famous, they know things. Isn't that interesting? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The irresponsibility of tweeting irrational and harmful opinions to millions, regardless of the damaging consequences to their country or people's lives, proves these stars deserve the harsh backlash. Again, we are back in the mode of all that matters here is the effect that it has on leftist feelings. That's all that matters. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our content.